No pops. No pops, no whistles. Hello, everyone. It is Thursday, August 23rd. And welcome to episode 13, Lucky 13 of Bliss Point, a podcast and website serving up music discussion, news, show, and album reviews, and more. My name is Jordan Kaufman, and I'm joined by my lovely co-host, Billy Gatewood. Hello. And Mr. Paul Kolb.
Salutations.
Howdy, howdy. Let's jump right into it. No muss, no fuss. What does muss mean?
I have no idea.
I assume it's some form of effort.
Yeah, probably. Okay, anyway. Jumping right into it. Mr. Conan O'Brien decides to cut music performances. Thoughts?
I'm outraged, but no, not really. He has 30 minutes now.
Yeah, I've always thought that he had the most interesting musical guests. Just because he could afford to do the weird shit, because he was like, I don't give a shit. I don't have a full, crazy time slot. But yeah, I guess last year or maybe earlier this year, it's not clear whether TBS cut his time slot or he decided to cut his time slot from an hour to 30 minutes. And with only 30 minutes, it's like, what, 10 minutes, 5-10 minutes for music? So
as long as there's other shows that have that platform
and
choose those kind of artists, I'm
absolutely
happy with it.
Fallon seems to do a pretty good job.
That's what people watch him for, I assume.
Yeah, and they have the roots, obviously. Kimmel does some good stuff. So
the only thing I'll miss is that Conan is a musician and like often jumped in with whoever the guest was, and that was always cool and unique to his show. But
did you ever watch the last Tonight Show with him on it? With Jack White?
Yes,
came on.
Fucking
makes me,
that was so
gives
good.
me goosebumps so many every time.
Yeah.
Excellent. This next one, which we kind of discovered is a little bit of old blood. But Robert Glasper, famous jazz pianist and kind of band director, calls out Lauryn Hill on a radio show, basically talking about how a bunch of his friends that were in this group called New Arc, I believe, essentially wrote all the music for the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, her seminal and I think only album. One of the greatest hip-hop albums of all time, like hands down. But apparently she didn't write nearly as much of the music as I had initially thought, which is kind of wild.
Because it came out when we were younger, it never occurred to me that anyone would assume it was anything but, here's a talented artist, people like her, and here's a bunch of session guys, make her look good.
Absolutely. And the idea, I think the thing that hurt me the most was the fact that, like, so many people just thought she was this good-natured, like peace and love. Like, I just love the people in my band. Like, yes, I'm credited, but it was a group effort, and like, it was my vision. I made it work. And to just kind of hear this just kind of sours me on her a little bit. Obviously, we don't know the full truth. There was a lawsuit in 1998. The group, I guess, sued her for co-writes on the music and everything, and allegedly it was a label decision. They were like, hey, you need to be written and produced by on this entire thing. Like, nobody else needs to be on it. So it was also way before anybody cared about musicians' rights and all that stuff. So different time, but interesting to say it, to at least bring it up. So this next one, never would have been like a huge fan. I know my mom used to love her. And she's obviously one of the greatest of all time. But rest in peace, Aretha Franklin. Kind of came out of nowhere that somebody tweeted, or there's a news story that was like, hey, she's at home in Detroit, surrounded by her friends and family. Like, just a quick turn, the last week, she's not doing well. And people expected her to pass away shortly after that. And she certainly did. But she was surrounded by friends and family. And seems like she went peacefully, which is very nice. That's all you can ask for.
Yeah, she seemed to be pretty active in her old age.
Yeah.
Seemed to have that quality of life.
She actually constantly, it was a big story, obviously, because the president of the United States tweeted about it. I guess she turned down an opportunity to sing at his inauguration. So she's been very active in the last, couple of years or so. So I think it feels weird to me just because, like, I never thought that she was gone from the public eye, Like, I just figured she was doing stuff.
Exactly.
And she was. So good for her. This next one Nicki Minaj is losing her shit, guys.
Oh, no.
Oh, gosh.
It's all downhill from here, apparently. I mean, to be fair, she does bring up some good points. So, Nicki was very upset that her album Queen, which we're going to talk about, came out 2 weeks ago, and it failed to reach number one, which she was very upset about. For a particular reason, the person she lost number one album to, Travis Scott, was selling bundles for his upcoming tour, which no dates had been announced yet. He was like, hey, buy tour bundles. Like, you can get a ticket, you can get a shirt with the ticket. Some of the packages had albums, but not all of them had albums in the package. She was upset that Billboard was counting all of those packages, regardless of whether they had an album in them or not, as units sold, which is kind of fucked, to be fair.
Doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean...
It's true, but...
Like, say what you want about Billboard. Like, I don't know why anyone puts any stock in them anymore with the day of streaming music.
Right.
With today's streaming music. But she was very upset about it. Went on several rants about how shitty Travis Scott is as a musician and auto-tuner and blah, 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 which she's used auto-tuned very many times. I don't know why she's giving this man shit. Mm-hmm. But anyway.
Yeah, instead of getting somebody else to do her choruses, right. So good.
Yeah, so anyway. So she said all this shit, and then she was upset with Spotify because she thought that Spotify was punishing her for doing all this shit on her own radio show, which is on Apple Radio. And Drake did the same thing, but Drake got quote-unquote better treatment on Spotify. As we talked about a couple weeks ago, he kind of took over all the playlists and everything, had the front page. And she was upset that she was not given the same treatment. Spotify was like, no. We gave you a lot of good treatment. They bought a billboard for her in Times Square. Yeah. They didn't put her in every playlist like they did with Drake, mistakenly. But they did put her in a lot of new playlists. She was
part of the new release, right? Mm-hmm.
So they were like, no, Nicki, we love you. Like, we've done a lot of things for you. So she goes on and on. She doesn't respond to Spotify again. She defends 6ix9ine, Tekashi 6ix9ine, who she's worked with before, on a track called Fifi, which is his track. And he's a noted and convicted pedophile. And it's surprising to me that she goes on this big rant about quote unquote, it's all love. Like, I don't mean any harm, but is talking shit about all these people and defending this person who I don't know personally, but seems like a douchebag. Like, I don't know. And she expects her album to do well when all that shit doesn't fly on Twitter anymore. Like, everyone is going to roast you for that.
Yeah, you actually see it a lot now, specifically in hip-hop, and oddly enough, specifically with prominent female artists. Like, they'll get in these weird social media wars, and then they'll just go away.
Yeah.
And it usually coincides with just their album numbers not doing well, that kind of thing. But I hate to see it from Nicki, because I think the new album's good. We'll talk about it later.
Yeah,
but if she just calmed down, book some smaller venues so that, when the footage comes out, the shows are good, it's filled in. It's not like these giant venues they were trying for that are going to be empty.
Yeah, and I don't think she's that artist anymore. Like, say what you will, that they're totally separate artists, but like, Cardi B is a thing now, and people like Cardi B a lot more currently. I'm not saying that one's better than the other. It's just Cardi B's the new hotness, and all people give a shit about is Cardi B. And Nicki's been gone for 4 years since her last album. So it's like, out of nowhere, you can't expect number one album status. I mean, she still got number two, which is wild. Like,
and I get why they're compared all the time. They fill a similar position.
One definitely bit the other, for sure.
But I mean, I feel like Nicki's still, from a technical standpoint, a better artist.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just, people like what they like.
Yeah, and she, I don't know, very questionable decision. She put a track that was not her own on her album on streaming services to reach number one, and then comes out and cancels her whole North American leg of her tour, which is happening in the fall, allegedly due to low ticket sales. She says that it's a production issue. She hasn't had time to rehearse, yada, yada, yada. And then someone anonymously at Live Nation was like, no, shit hasn't sold. Like, they're booking her for 20,000 seat venues, and she's selling sub 10,000 tickets, sub 5,000 tickets, really. And like this on top of the 6ix9ine shit, on top of the Cardi B, she hasn't sold as many records as Cardi B in her first week, like just making her unhinged, which kind of falls in line, honestly, with her Twitter rants and everything. But it's an anonymous source, so doesn't hold any water. But whatever. She's making a lot more money than I am, so she'll be fine. I think she'll be all right. Let's get into what we've been listening to, and that is the best, worst, good, noteworthy, mediocre, important, inconsequential, sometimes album-related shows, singles, and new releases of the week. Billy,
am I up first?
I want to talk about Moonrise Festival.
All right.
Because I saw a cool Snapchat of Moonrise Festival.
Yeah.
It was pretty neat. But I didn't hear anything about Moonrise.
Yeah. So I went to Moonrise Festival the second day on Sunday, mainly because my buddy Dave, who plays with a duo called Tritonal, was playing that evening. And
how was Tritonal?
They're always great.
Sure.
To preface it, it had rained a lot leading up to the show.
Oh, God.
So there was about a 2.5 hour long delay where we were all corralled in the grandstands of the racetrack.
Sure.
While there's just crazy lightning and rain going on.
God.
And so when we get back out, they're kind of rushing people through like 30-minute sets just to get people to play.
Yeah.
And Dave was playing on the main stage, and it's Dave and Chad. And Chad's kind of the hype man, and Dave does more of the technical DJ work. And so you could tell at the beginning of the set it was kind of off, like they couldn't figure out what they were doing.
Sure.
And it was kind of weird. You could tell they were uncomfortable and weren't quite sure what was going on. And so when we talked to them afterward, they were like, it was so wet and slippery up there that like they could barely stay on their feet.
Oh my God.
Man, they wanted to be dry tonal.
Oh God.
And so you could tell they finally got their groove and like figured out what they could do.
Sure.
Like with the circumstances that they were under and everything like that. And as far as like, to me, their production is always huge.
Sure.
And it's always one of the biggest. And so they have fire and pyro and fireworks and, crazy lights and crazy visuals and tons of smoke and everything like that. So they put on an awesome set. People loved it. They're always one of my highlights to see them. And I don't know if it's... I've always enjoyed going to Moonrise Festival in the past. It's always been a really good experience. This year, I don't know if I just have lost interest in that scene, or if the artists have just like
the crop of talent just not as good.
That, or they're all just trying to do the same thing. Like they, when it was up and coming, like people are experimenting and doing different things.
Yeah.
And so you go see these different artists and people sounded different. Where this year, just everybody kind of sounded the same to me.
What's the in thing now? Do you know?
I mean, there's like, so they have different.
It's not house.
No, so they do have a house stage, which is like strictly house
cool.
music, and that was, we stopped by and saw that a few times. They had basically a dubstep tent, which I've always enjoyed going to, just because live, like I've always really enjoyed that. This year we stopped by and it was the same stuff over and over again, just that really hype like ravey dubstep. And it was either just like really hard hitting the whole time. There's no really break in between.
Just getting people lit.
Yeah.
For like
you think maybe you're just growing up?
I mean, it could be, but I don't know. Honestly, I think the genre has just kind of
stagnated.
Yeah, it's just kind of been watered down.
That's fair. I don't know if it's necessarily like the in thing anymore.
Yeah,
because like when we were in college, like that's all anybody listened to. Like that was what was on the radio, and that was like party music. I think so. I mean, you still have pop music, but like it was more influenced by electronic music than pop music is now, I think.
I gotcha. You get a lot of those dubstep drops and shitty rock.
Exactly. Yes.
So and you could tell there's way less people there than there are usually. I don't know if that was due to weather, due to the artists they brought in, but I mean, it's still the headliners were like Marshmello, who's huge. Marshmello, Excision, was a headliner.
Jordan, that's a helmet. That's not his real head.
Oh, sorry. I forgot.
Excision was great.
It's like Dead Mouse.
We
Dead Mouse
did-
5.
Caught him on the way out, and he was great.
And no electronic musician before them ever put on helmet.
Absolutely not. No, he's the first one.
Before I forget, if I wanted to look into them, how would you characterize Tritonal's sound?
They are like melodic progressive house.
Okay.
Or melodic EDM.
What I've heard, I liked. I've just never sat down and like actually listened to their stuff.
It's always funny to me because it's somebody that I grew up with. He was my next door neighbor for forever, and like I knew him as he was making back in the day this nerdy trance music that nobody liked and everything like that. And to see like nowadays like their stuff is very vocal oriented, and to see like a crowd of thousands of people like knowing the words,
that's cool.
It's
that is
always
really
cool. Like every time I see it, it's pretty cool.
Absolutely, that's really neat. I saw Page of the Lion and H.C. McIntyre at the Black Cat. It was good. The opener, H.C. McIntyre, is the lead singer for a band called Mount Moriah, which is like an alt country-ish band, alternative rock. And I know you hate that term. It's fine. And she is kind of the same thing, like a little more leaning country, less rock. Had like a lap steel, it was a pedal steel. And just guitar work was really, really good. Vocals aren't my favorite, but the band altogether was really tight. And then the music was really good as well. And then Page of the Lion went on. Super small trio, drums, bass, guitar. The drum kit had like maybe 2 drums, like a snare and a bass drum, and then maybe a hi-hat.
Really?
It was super simple.
Was it a standing rig?
The drum kit?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. So just normal.
Yeah. It's very, very stripped. Sound was great. I'd only been to Black Cat once before to see everything, and was disappointed. It just felt really muddled. But this time, sound was incredible. Like,
awesome.
Bass super present, and guitar was like in that band. To me, the main singer David Bazan, he plays the bass. The bass on the albums feels a little in the background, but it was at the forefront, and it was awesome.
Cool.
Played all the hits. He sounds incredible. They have a new record on the way, which I'm very excited about. If you're not familiar, Page of the Lion is like kind of I don't want to say proto emo because it's not like American football kind of stuff. It's just very like it's kind of it's kind of like a pre-national.
Okay,
almost.
yeah, right.
Like that's what it kind of reminds me of. Less boring, I think, in a lot of stages.
What?
Look.
What?
Look. We need to have this conversation. I love The National, one of my favorite bands, but their worst material is very boring. Is this not a good time?
Is this you're going to bring this up now?
I've never been on that boat.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I didn't mean to hurt you.
I mean, what do you mean their worst material? Are we going to go on a tangent here?
Of their material, the worst tracks are incredibly boring.
The stuff, like, primarily a lot of their older stuff, I don't find very interesting. Like, here's what I'll give you. Boxer and High Violet are incredible. Like, honestly, some of my favorite albums of all time. Everything outside of that, maybe with the exception of the one that came after High Violet.
Okay.
I forget the name of it. Don't really like their new album all that much anymore. I thought I did.
We can agree on that.
Yes.
The new album is not very strong.
Their old stuff is
much
very
better.
raw, and I think a little too slow, especially with his voice. But anyway.
Hey, surgical drama Grey's Anatomy always needs more music.
Yes,
Got
absolutely.
a lot of space to fill.
Absolutely. Sorry I hurt your feelings.
It's okay.
I love you. We'll talk about it. Pedro. Anyway. I think my only thing was... so when I saw Santana in Las Vegas, I had heard... this is going somewhere. Trust me.
No, they're similar. Don't look at him like that.
When I saw Santana in Las Vegas, I had heard that he was a talker. And I was like, I don't know. I think he's just going to play the hits. He's going to fucking rip. And he did play the hits. But in between playing the hits, he talked a lot.
It was very spiritual.
It was
Soul Church
very
stuff.
spiritual, very Soul Church, very like... like, we need to love each other. And it was like I'm on board. I'm on board. Have you ever heard an
interview by the man? No, I would have gone in expecting that.
I have not. So that's why I was primed by someone, I can't remember who, and went in and was like, no, that's not it. And it was totally that.
Is Pedro a talker?
Pedro is a talker.
All the
surprisingly, I never would have expected him to be a talker. And the thing for me is, like, while I totally agree with a lot of his points, it was very, very like, because it was the day of the white supremacy march in DC, or not white supremacy, sorry, Unite the Right. To be fair, so it was the same day, and he was very charged about it. He was like, blah blah blah, fucking idiots outside, like you guys need to do, like, be kind to each other, blah blah blah, like, very normal, liberal stuff, like, just be nice to each other. Totally on board with it. It just talked. It said the same things a lot.
Gotcha.
And it's just like, I hate to say this because it sounds awful, but like I'm not here for the lecture.
Right.
Like, everyone in the audience, by virtue of them shouting, saying, yeah, fuck yeah, everyone's a fucking liberal here. Like,
yeah, right.
I don't need the sermon. I've heard
it's
it
also
everywhere.
DC, like,
yeah,
I don't expect him to know the DC, like, demographic,
right,
but
right. And I don't think he went into it being like, oh fuck yeah, like, they're gonna eat this up. Like, I'm gonna say it because they'll eat it up. It's definitely something he was very passionate about.
Yeah.
And was, like, very excited. Well, not excited, but, like, I feel like I have to say this. Like, I'm here right now. It's his platform, whatever. I just kind of wish there was a little less talking and a little more music.
It's a weird one with music, any kind of art, but anything that has lyricism or, like, a message, because it's so ingrained in people's beliefs. I'm with you. I've certainly had that feeling, especially if you're at a show where they're just ripping into like, maybe a viewpoint that you hold.
Right.
But at the same time, like, that's what people want, is authenticity. They want to know the artist isn't just, like...
Absolutely. And it's very important for him to have his opinion, and I think it's awesome and both shocking. Like, his main point was, like, I've been writing about toxic masculinity and, people shitting on women and shitty politics forever, like, my entire career. Never had I thought 15 years ago when I was writing these songs that there would still be this problem, which is an interesting point.
Fair,
like, that was, like, eye-opening. I was like, dude, like, that's wild. Like, it shows you that dude's a true blue, like, he believes what he talks about. He practices what he preaches, which is awesome.
It was just the repetitiveness that kind of
got old. And it also, like, the friend that I went with is not liberal at all. And he said some things that, like, phrased it in a way that was like, it's good versus evil, not like a rational versus irrational kind of way. So I think it was just disappointing to him, especially, like, he wasn't familiar with the band, so it was like, I was excited to show him this band, and I think he liked the music. He was just like, it's just too much politics for me. Like, I want to hear the music. So it's whatever. Anyway, getting into singles. This track by ALASKALASKA, Monster. Paul, it's your favorite type of video. 90s video. Polaroid flames, fuzzy cameras, everything.
It's just overdone. That's all.
It is. It's also. I don't
not
think it's a
particularly
good video.
well done
it's
one
not
either.
a very good video.
But luckily, I really like the track.
The track is very good. I was very impressed. It's kind of got that, like, very simple dream. I don't want to say dream pop because it's
like
not fuzzed
DIY
out.
indie.
I see why you
like,
say that, though, because of her voice.
Yes, she's got that very kind of slack voice. But the, like, keys kick in on the chorus, and it's just a very interesting track. It's very good. Speaking of interesting tracks.
Yes.
Billy, we avoided talking about CHVRCHES when they released their album a couple months ago.
Yeah.
Because it was hot garbage.
It was. Not good.
And I honestly, this is probably another shocker to you, I've never really been into them. Like, their first album was good, and I recognized it as being good. I just never could get into it. And then whatever album came out after that, I was like, they're not for me.
Yeah.
And since then, they just haven't really done anything else to impress me.
That's totally fair. I was very much into their first album and saw them a couple times. I mean, they are great live.
I'm sure they're amazing live.
But then, kind of It just spoiled for me too.
So generic. They became more generic.
Yeah, just kind of they kind of lost their touch for me.
Sure. And this new track, I think, is just a Lucy. I don't think it's part of anything.
Yeah.
It's called Out of My Head, featuring I believe they're J-pop or K-pop group called Wednesday Campanella, and it's off the walls, kind of wild, anime-driven music video with these really cool, like, super manic instrumentation that just reminds me of like K-pop or J-pop. And it's full-on Japanese lyrics for the first verse or whatever. And then what is it, Lauren Mayberry, the singer, does the chorus, and it's I love it. It's awesome. What do you guys think?
The track is actually really good.
You like it?
Yeah,
I like it a lot.
You into it?
All K-pop in general, or J-pop, I feel like I like it more because I don't know what they're saying.
Yeah, we tried to look up the lyrics. Was you Genius?
Because honestly, when I first listened to it, I was like, "Is this Lauren Mayberry?"
They do sound similar.
Does she know? Yeah, they have a very similar voice.
But it makes me wonder what kind of saccharine bubblegum pop shit I would enjoy in English if I didn't understand what they said.
Right. Absolutely.
But yeah, we tried to look up the lyrics and they were in.
The lyrics were in characters. So
if you like any of those genres, it's worth checking out.
It's very good. Aphex Twin, T69 Collapse. He's got a new EP coming on the way, I think, in the next month or two. Very, very cool video. What do you guys think of the track?
Now that you brought up the video, and that's like immediately where my mind went, because the video is so weird. It's so cool,
weird and trippy.
Yeah,
and I want to say it was supposed to premiere on like Adult Swim, which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, because the visuals have this really glitchy look to
it makes a lot of sense. But
it builds.
Yeah, it is a very cool track. Very him. Like I hate. It's kind of like saying conscious hip hop. I hate saying intellectual dance music or IDM, but it's very much that genre. Like very, very. It's not like a drop or anything.
No, yeah.
This is an oversimplification, but that's kind of what every electronic style that's not EDM, it's basically EDM for eggheads. It's just
absolutely
a more intelligent version of it.
It just feels very, as always with his music, feels very scientific and like coordinated, and it's great.
It's a very good track.
Yes. Yeah. Ken Mode. I forgot to write the track name on here. I think it's Beloved or Loved. Fucking dope track. Yeah. Paul, you're a big fan of this good metal movement this summer. What'd you think?
It's been a great month for it.
It has. It's been really good.
I don't have much to say on this. It's just really good. I like the production. Actually, the one we'll get into in a minute, just both of them, great guitar sound.
It was like very bassy, but I liked it. Like the bass had a lot of presence, but then also the kick drum was very like, I don't know, just more bassy than usual.
Yeah, the mix in general was really good.
Yeah,
but cool. I like their sound. I like just straightforward screaming vocals.
Yep, it's great. It's a very good track. Next one, as much as a surprise to me as it probably is to everyone else that knows me, this new 21 Pilots track is not terrible. It's pretty good, actually.
It really, yeah.
It's because your expectations were so low.
True, very true. Did you not like it, Paul? You just thought it was okay?
I liked it, but I'm very conscious of the fact that my expectations are so low that maybe it's more of a...
That's fair. That's fair.
But objectively, it's a much more solid track. I never would have guessed it came from them. Yeah, it's not so unlike them stylistically, but it's much, much better than anything else they've done.
It's not as mainstream as you would expect from them now.
Absolutely.
They've, put out a lot of singles over the past couple of years that have, been very radio ready, and this doesn't seem to be as radio ready.
Yeah, it's...
no? You think?
They kind of ditched their verse, chorus, bridge.
That's what yeah, exactly. There's no chorus, there's no singing.
It's just a verse on top of a really cool beat. And I mainly liked it because of the production. I thought the beat was really interesting. A lot of cool stick work, like actual live drums on the beat, not synthetic.
Yeah.
And then this singer, I don't know his name, just does his normal, talk singy verse that he does on every track. But I thought it was pretty good. I was kind of into it.
It's like they took all the screaming and industrial sounds out of Linkin Park, and this is what's left.
Fair. Yeah, that's fair. There's definitely a direct lineage, both between fan bases and this band. Next track, High on Fire, Electric Messiah. Their new album, I believe, is also called Electric Messiah. I could be wrong. And I think at least this track is a Lemmy Motorhead tribute. And it definitely screams that.
Oh, it definitely
both in
does.
the production and the style of the song. But it fucking rips. Like,
yeah,
it's really rad. Are you guys... I'm not a Motorhead fan. Are you guys Motorhead fans?
No.
I really enjoy Motorhead, but I can't say I'm a true fan because I can't sit there and just listen to album after album. They're all the same. They sound the same.
It blends together.
They cultivated a really good sound.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that this album does not end up like that, where it just kind of feels samey. But I trust in High on Fire because they're fucking stalwarts and know what the fuck they're doing. So.
Yeah, I get kind of wary of those tribute style albums or the covers and stuff, but they put a lot of good energy into it.
Absolutely. Saintseneca, Beast in the Garden. Paul and I were over the moon about this track. Did not hear anything from you, Billy. What'd you think?
No, it was good. I've tried to get into them for a while and can't seem to fully
I
get
can totally
into it.
see that. I feel like I've listened to their stuff and just never clicked.
It hasn't really done much for me. But this is a solid track.
It's good. It's got that kind of psychedelic leaning direction.
In the back of my mind, I was kind of thinking it would get you with the drum sound.
The drum production was
kind of a highlight for me.
Very good.
Yeah.
Vocals, not my favorite.
Yeah.
It's better than what I remember. And that's the unfortunate thing. I don't really remember a lot of their older stuff. So I couldn't tell you if this was a big departure or not. But still very good track.
Mm-hmm.
Kurt Vile, Loading Zones, The Boy's Back. I'm very stoked for... I don't know if he's releasing a new album or not. But just a great Kurt Vile track. Like, does his thing very, very well. And this is just him executing very well on that thing that he does.
I think we can all agree that this is a really, really good track.
It is.
He's a tremendous talent. The way he delivers his vocal lines, I think Billy pointed out earlier, is kind of Tom Petty-esque.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then Jordan, I like... You said it's very similar to like early War on Drugs.
It is. Yeah, in a lot of ways could never tell the difference between those two bands back in the day. 5 years ago. But Kurt Vile is locking down this style, and I think it's doing it very well.
If you're a Courtney Burnett fan, you know the album they did together was really strong. And if you liked any of that, I just go check out Kurt Vile and the Violators.
Absolutely. Did that album come out this year? That Courtney Burnett album?
Oh, no.
Was that last year?
It was at least 2 years ago.
Yeah, that's probably right. Boygenius.
Here we go. Big
Taking
news.
the internet by storm. 3 critical darlings just grouped up together, and we're like, let's make some dope-ass music. So Phoebe Bridgers, both whom Billy and I adore.
Oh, yes.
Julian Baker, both Billy and I do not adore, very vocally. And Lucy Dacus, who I'm so-so on.
Yeah, I agree.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Very excited. They're coming together to do a 6-track EP. Each of the 3 of them brought a finished track and unfinished track to the table, and they kind of worked on them together and collaborated. And I think the thing that I want out of this album is for it to feel like a cohesive thing.
Yeah.
Not like 2 tracks from Phoebe, 2 tracks from Julian, and 2 tracks from Lucy Dacus.
And that's what I'm kind of worried about, because that is how it's kind of set up, is there's going to be one lead vocalist on each track. It's not any collaborative sort of vocal.
Right.
So I do wonder if it's going to kind of feel like more like a mixtape.
Sure. Yeah, and I think
band.
I didn't read enough to see if the 3 snippets that we listened to, Me and My Dog and 2 other ones.
Of course you remember the Phoebe one.
Of course, it's the best one. If those were the finished ones, and then the unfinished ones have more of a group kind of feel,
Yeah, I
which
don't
would
know.
be interesting.
Right.
We'll see. I think the Julian Baker was definitely probably close second, honestly.
The Julian Baker one's not
very
bad.
good. She shows emotion in her voice, which I'm not used to,
Right.
and I want more of.
Yes.
And just super talented ladies. Very, very excited for this. I cannot wait. Next up, Disclosure, Moonlight. Billy, what do you think?
You know, we were talking about this, and it's just Disclosure is coming back to where they came from, where they started.
Yes,
I mean,
where they should be.
This track is so good. It rides like a Disclosure track should. You know, it's got that nice. It's groovy all the way through, but it's not overly complicated.
No,
but their chord progressions and their production is just
love that looping sample that they use. I'm saying love or something like that. It's a cool, really, really neat harmony that is on that sample, and it just loops and loops and loops, and just their normal, very build. You know, they do dynamics very well in their tracks. So I'm very excited to see them get back
like
to
we've
basics.
said with electronic music, like all you kind of want is for them to stand out and have a sound.
Yes.
And Disclosure has their sound. And
absolutely.
They've been hitting it with every single that they've released.
Yeah. And speaking to the whole EDM thing, like if everyone else is doing the same thing, like I'm more than happy to have them go back to what they're good at rather than try to be different. Like if they do it really well, right? And this track Moonlight is very, very good.
Yeah, and in electronic music, just like any other normal song structure, we've just been conditioned to expect the drop at this point. It's going to do something here and build here. In that genre, it's sometimes as simple as just finding literally a noise that no one's done before.
Absolutely.
Even something that's been known, like Rat-a-tat has that reverse delay thing.
Yes.
No one did the reverse delay better, so that's their thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's unmistakable.
Yeah. This last track, Gunship, When You Grow Up Your Heart Dies. So we were all gigantic fans a couple episodes ago of the Gunship track. I forget what it's called.
Dark All Day.
Dark All Day had a really cool, weird anime blade vampire music video. This track does not have a music video yet. It is very, very 80s synthwave.
That's why I picked it.
Billy's favorite genre. It's so I liked it going into it, or sorry, not going as the track went on, and then there's a point at which explain what they're doing.
So here's just a little background on the track. A while ago, they had asked for some voice submissions for fans to be a part of one of their new songs, and so.
And it seemed like they were just random quotes. Right?
Yeah, I don't know if they're like directly like quotes from like 80s movies or not.
Oh, okay,
I'm not positive.
That would make sense considering their music video.
Right.
Yeah.
So they got over like 1,000 some submissions or whatever, which maybe really isn't that much, but they're a small little 80s electronica band. So as the track progresses, it breaks down into this kind of like just really uplifting, like dreamy bridge. And that's when they throw in all these random just like quotes from fans, and they have it under this like weird effect and everything like that.
Yeah,
it's just this weird like cheesy uplifting. Like
it's just so sappy, but I'm a fucking sucker for that shit, man. Like just the very like you can do this, but it's not exactly that. It's a little corny, but it's very heartwarming. It's very nice.
And so now they want help with their music video, and they're asking for fans to submit a video. They have a list of like a bunch of famous scenes from 80s movies, and they want people to reenact these 80s movies,
right?
But while lip syncing to the song.
Sure.
So they want to kind of make this video montage of a bunch of fan submissions. So
I could be off base here. It seems like of all the 80s synthwave that we've heard, because you've brought the things that you brought to the table, it feels like this band is the most willing to own up to the fact that 80s music is why they exist.
Yeah.
Everybody else just kind of eschews like that label and just like, no, we're making like synth electronica or dark wave, whatever the fuck. But they are very much like, we love 80s movies, we love 80s music, we love 80s anime, we love all of it. Like, just give it to us.
Yes, exactly.
So I thought that was neat.
Yeah,
it's a very, very cool project. And with that, let's get into new releases. Billy, been waiting for a long time to talk about this little fish right here.
Gem.
Gem's a bridge too far for me.
Wrong word for you.
Gem's a bridge too far. So this is a game of cat and mouse we've been playing. Billy would show me a new Death Cab for Cutie single, and Paul and I would be like, it's fine.
We can go back to the tape. You guys were into them.
Yes, to be fair, I did like Gold Rush quite a bit.
Yes.
And it's now on the radio a lot, and I'm into it. The other track, Thank You for Today, I think is one of the other singles. The opener was another single that we listened to. I don't know if we listened to it on the podcast, but I listened to it and was like, I like this. I can get into this. But the album came out, and I want to know what you thought about it.
What's it called? It's called Thank You for Today, right?
Who's it by?
It's by Death Cab for Cutie.
Cool.
Okay, sorry.
No, you're good. I think I said that, but I wanted to make sure that we did say it.
Yeah, you did.
I was pleasantly
got the transcript
surprised
right
by
Pleasantly surprised.
Yes.
And for the record, you did like Kintsugi, which came out a couple of years ago.
Let me preface my love for Death Cab real quick.
Okay.
And it goes as this. Is Death Cab writes some of my favorite songs of all time.
Okay. Yes.
I don't feel that they've created an entirely solid album probably since Transatlanticism.
Begrudging check. Yes.
Ever since then, I've been 50-50 on every album that's came out. Like, Plans has amazing tracks to it, but also songs that I skip every time I listen to that album. And every album since has been like that.
Sure.
This album I listened all the way through, and usually on my first listen with the Death Cab album, I know exactly what tracks I'm going to skip.
Sure.
This one I didn't hear any when I first listened to it, and I was like, all right, I'll listen to it a couple times. Right. I'm sure there'll be some tracks.
Yeah.
But as I listened to it more and more, I actually found myself liking it that much more, and liking all the tracks that much more.
Okay.
And I didn't skip over a track anytime I listened to it all the way through.
Okay. Paul, did you get a chance to listen to it?
No.
Okay.
But I listened to a sampling.
Okay.
And just to kind of get back to one of your things from earlier, Billy, it's not... I never consider it bad. Like, every album they put out has at least 3 or 4 tracks that are worth listening to. It's just that I always compare it against what I liked from them, which is a bad game to play. It should really be more against what else is around right now, what else is being released, but it's...
Yeah, and Paul and I have both said this before, it's this dangerous game of, like, we want sad Death Cab. Like, give me that good. I need that hit of heroin. And this does have some of that.
It does, yeah.
But again, and the same thing that I'll say about Kintsugi, and much more so about Codes and Keys, is the lack of Chris Walla is so apparent to me, I think, because I don't think the songwriting's all there. I like much more of this initially than I did of Kintsugi. And Kintsugi has grown on me. There's some tracks on there that I do like quite a bit. Thank You for Today, I think, is a pretty good album. It's not my favorite. I never will be. It never was going to be, right? And it has me excited for what they're doing in the future, which is not something I would say about after Kintsugi. I'd be like, I'm done with that band. So I'm excited to see what they do. And they are certainly, it feels like they're changing their sound finally and trying to do something different.
But in this weird, interesting way, though, because it is. Like some of the pros about this album in particular is the drums are incredible.
Yes.
They're super tight and like intricate and more active, I think, than you would expect from a Death Cab album.
Yeah.
The guitar work like that, and what I noticed from Kintsugi onto this, like, and I think that is partially due to Chris leaving. The guitar work is actually, I love it. Like this clean guitar tone with like these cool arpeggios and just doing different things with the guitar.
Yeah, there's definitely like, I noted that like my favorite tracks are the ones where there's more guitar and more drums, and they're kind of like interpolated, like they're kind of feeding off of each other.
Right.
And the louder, like more interesting tracks, I think, kind of fit that.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely with you there.
Yeah, and I will say one of the weakest thing about the album and the most disappointing thing about the album is Ben Gibbard's lyrics.
Absolutely.
Are not that great, and he is usually an extremely talented lyricist.
Yes.
This album, I don't know what happened, but his lyrics are not that great.
I think the bell's running dry, man.
Yeah. He's wrote a lot,
running
which
out
I
of
get.
shit to be depressed about, right? So, and that's why I was so disappointed. Like Gold Rush was so different for them.
Yeah.
and such a neat song concept about losing your hometown because of a literal and metaphorical gold rush, right? And just kind of being pushed out, and that was like, oh sweet, like Ben's back. And the rest of it's just kind of like, you know, tried and true Death Cab metaphoricals. Don't want to be
lost in your debris.
Or whatever. Like moving today, I think, or where you're moving or something. I thought was kind of interesting. But everything else is like, it's just traditional Death Cab. Like nothing like super blatant. But definitely just more them. So.
And so my favorite tracks were Summer Years, Autumn Love, and Northern Lights. And you'll probably also find with those tracks that it's kind of that same clean guitar work that I really love.
But it's good. Yeah, those are... Summer Love is excellent. Right? It's a very, very good track.
And we won't have to get into it. The songwriting on that is very cool.
Yes.
The chord progression is the way you expect.
Yes. So I wrote this as well. The first 3 songs, I think there's 3 songs before Your Hurricane, are excellent. Got me super stoked. Right? And then you run into Your Hurricane, I'm like, fuck, this is it's a wet, soppy balloon. Like,
that song has a lot of potential, and they just seem to give up on it.
Totally squander it. Absolutely.
Related artists.
I don't know.
It's Death Cab. They've been around for so long. You know who Death Cab is.
Any indie...
The godfathers of indie music.
Right? Any, like, indie pop kind of slow-ish band that you're a fan of is probably inspired by Death Cab. So...
They're like the reason that it became a genre tag versus just a description of how the album was made.
Yes, absolutely. And Paul.
Oh, yeah? It's my turn?
Talk about Miss Crazy herself. Is that offensive? I'm sorry.
I mean, you're going based off speculation that's probably true.
That's
But Miss Nicki Minaj, she released Queen a few weeks ago. I'm a little bit behind just because of us not meeting due to sickness and such. But I like this. I like the first 3/4 of it. It was
I'm
a very...
with you there.
That's the first thing any of you queue it up will notice. There's like 20 tracks on there. It's They need to cut the fat.
Yeah, it's like hour 10, I think. Definitely.
The way it worked out for me, like the first 3/4 of it, I actually thought were really strong.
Some of the best stuff she's done, I think, in a while.
And that's what I'm saying. When we were talking earlier about the speculation about maybe she's losing her shit a little bit, I don't want to see that happen to her because she's putting out quality stuff. Right. Maybe she's not on top right now, but if she just went about it the right way, I think the quality speaks for itself.
Absolutely.
Except for Chun Sui, that is garbage.
Yeah, that song is really bad.
So bad.
And super long.
Oh, my God.
But you know what? She has a few really nice moments on it, like fast verses, which is a shame because that...
I think...
Sway Lee... I get it, like I kind of get it's a little different, but that high falsetto shit,
oh my god,
it's abrasive. If she had just gotten some great female singer that sings in that range and had her do the same lines, it would have been a much stronger track.
Yeah, he's like, for some reason, one of the most featured artists this year, and like specifically that Post Malone album that I adore. He completely ruins the one track on an album that I hate. Like,
it was also interesting.
The dude's just garbage.
Just Migos connection because of her rivalry supposedly with Cardi B.
Absolutely.
Another thing that's speculated on, but also confirmed.
Yeah, right.
But I'm trying to focus on the negative. She's got some really strong stuff here. It's kind of her brand. The verses are strong. Has really cool hooks.
Absolutely.
The choruses are always a little bit weak. Same thing as what I said before. I wish she would just come in and have somebody else do the choruses if it's going to be a melodic thing.
Yeah, I really wish, like to your point, her verses are so good on here, and it's just the beats are fairly generic most of the way, and the hooks just like totally squandered. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, and especially that Chun Sui or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It runs straight into the strongest single from the album, which is Chun Li, which everybody's probably heard that already.
So good.
That's very good.
Chun Li's very good.
And then along with that, Majesty featuring Eminem and Labyrinth, really good track.
Really, I'm surprised I didn't hate M's verse. Like, it's pretty good.
It's kind of how you should use him now. Just a little feature. He kind of spits this little piece of fire and then bye.
It's long too,
Goodbye, Grandpa.
Fun fact, this is his fast verse. His fastest verse ever. So, like, he when he released the Rap God a couple years ago, people like counted the words per minute or whatever, and was like, "This is his fastest song ever." This is his new fastest song ever.
You know, I was listening to it, and I was like trying to compare it to other stuff I know, and I was like,
he's still got it, man. He's still got it for sure.
Yeah, and
anyway.
you know, if we're gonna focus on that too, just Nicki's style when she does really fast verses.
Her fast verses are such a strong point on this album.
The thing is, like, she's enunciating really good syllables. It's not one of those they just throw in to make it sound
exactly
like they just roll their tongue to make it sound like they're doing a bunch of shit. But anyway, I think it's worth checking out.
Absolutely,
no reason to listen to the last quarter of it.
Yeah, definitely pick. If it was like 10 songs, I think I would have loved it for sure.
LLC is good on there too.
Absolutely. This next one, Nearer My God by Foxing. Billy and I know you and I talked about this briefly. I absolutely adore their first album. I think Albatross is what it's called, maybe. It's excellent. Their second album is garbage. Complete snoozer. Did not like it at all. Very slow, very syrupy, very boring. So needless to say, I was very surprised when I heard their new stuff, because they were stepping it up in the production game, and they feel more like an indie alternative rock band than they have ever before. And I was a little nervous, just because I wasn't sure how they would carry that kind of swagger. And I think they do most of the way. You like the second half of the track list, yes?
I've been listening to it more and more. I don't like any of it. I've been trying very hard, and I really wanted to like this album more than I do. The first half, I just couldn't. I was hoping it would grow on me.
Really,
it did not.
Okay. The
second half, I was like, okay, this is more like the older stuff. You know, it's good. It's just not doing it for me.
Okay, fair enough. I love the first half. It just feels, it's so different for them. It gets a little weird, and his voice is not all the way there, but it's always been that way. So I can't really knock him for that.
Yeah, no, right.
But he's definitely willing to do different things with his voice, which I thought was interesting. And then this track, 5 Cups, which is 9 minutes long, which is like 6 minutes too long, kind of splits the track list. So like the first half is like more upbeat, kind of wilder, with the exception of like Slapstick, which feels like their older stuff.
Yes.
And then after 5 Cups, it's like mostly their old stuff, which is good. I just don't. 5 Cups, I think, ruins the flow for me, and I don't think is a great track. And then it kind of just stops. It kind of breaks to a halt. Like, it just kind of loses all of its momentum, and just kind of, the songwriting I don't think is as good. There's Heartbeats has this really cool, like, gorgeous string like arrangement, and they just kind of throw a normal kind of work from them, and then have a like an oh 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 chorus on top of it. It's not all the way there for me. But yeah, I think some of they're on to something, and I think if they could really capitalize on it and clean it up, it may be too far. I don't know, but I think they're almost there.
I can see that.
I think they could be a great band. I still like them a lot.
I mean, the potential is definitely there.
And I think it's at least awesome that they're willing to try something new, whereas most emo bands that I'm fans of kind of do the same thing forever. So it's good that they're willing to step out of their comfort zone. Favorite tracks: Grand Paradise, Game Shark, and Nearer My God, all from the front half. Related artists remind me a lot of Foals on here. Remind me of more recent The World Is a Beautiful Place, and a little bit of Oso Oso. Album of the week: best shit we heard in the last month, probably-ish. And this first one was a big surprise for me.
Me too.
Mr. Billy, do you want to give us the lowdown?
Yeah, so my album of the week is The Beths, and Future Me Hates Me.
That's always a tongue twister for me.
I know, right? I'm so glad I said the band name correctly, because I cannot say that accurate. It's
I have
really
a hard
hard.
time saying the Beths.
Right? It's so hard for me, so I'm not going to say it anymore.
What's hard
so hopefully,
about the Beths?
The H.
how do you do that?
The Beths.
My tongue
It's
just
because he doesn't want to take the time. He has to slow it down. The Beths.
the Beths. Is that right?
We can move on.
Okay, sorry. I was very nervous this whole time.
I wanted to say, I wonder if we could drag it out.
Anyway.
Throw up when I said it. So they're a 4-piece from New Zealand. Kind of this indie alternative, kind of polished slop rock, maybe.
Mm-hmm. And that's why I was nervous.
Right, yeah.
I was like, we got another Camp Cope. Let's go. Let's fucking do this. Let's be disappointed.
It's really good, right? It's hard to capitalize on what makes it so good and so different, but it's really, the songwriting is really good. It's polished off really well. I really like her vocal and vocal style. The backing vocals from the rest of the band are a huge strong point for them. Like this,
I think you hit it. Is like they're doing what so many other bands in that genre do. They're just doing it better.
Yeah.
Like the production is still that lo-fi goodness, but the backing harmonies are incredible. Like,
right? They add a whole other like level to it.
And the guitar production and like willing to actually make the guitar a focal point rather than just like chugging on power chords is awesome.
Yeah.
It's really, really
I love
good.
the guitar tone too.
Yes.
Right? I was trying to figure out exactly like it's just so nice.
It's very, very good.
And the album flows really well. They've got a really solid sound that it is their own. They go from this like slop rock feel, but they also have some more like emo-ish tones to them.
Absolutely.
Some of my favorite tracks on the album are kind of the more clean emo-ish ones, but it really, and for being their debut album, I mean, it's
really put together,
really solid.
Sure.
And
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
That's kind of impressive.
I think they just have like an EP and then this album. A little tidbit that also makes me like them a lot is her name is Elizabeth, and so she called the band the Beths because of Gilmore Girls, and she's like, if Lorelai Gilmore can name her daughter after herself, I can name my band after myself, and I respect that more than you want to know.
Billy Gatewood, noted Gilmore Girls
number one fan.
Yeah.
Don't give me that look, Paul. Gilmore Girls is great. You think Eminem's verse is fast? Watch Gilmore Girls. They can talk even faster.
That's true. They'll whip you into a coma.
Small
town living will do to
They're
you.
sassy. That's why everybody loves them.
Yeah, so I can't recommend this album enough. It's really, really good. Just nice weather album. My favorite tracks are Great No One, which is the opener. Not Running, which is one of the more emo songs. It's really good. And Whatever.
Yeah.
Related artist, I was thinking like Diet Sig, kind of.
Sure.
Not as like glittery, but still that kind of like polished slop rock.
I jokingly said Camp Cope. You could
that's
some comparisons.
absolutely.
I think any other dime a dozen. Various. I think this should be a hallmark for this genre. I think
yes,
at least in modern last couple of years. I think they do it very well. So Paul and I have joined Powers to discuss the OC's prog metal odyssey, Smote Reverser.
Man, I need to double up with Billy. It's always you and I. Once he gets taste.
I'm sorry. Damn.
Wow.
Holy shit.
Good thing I
Billy's
don't like this
dead.
album.
I should call the police. Holy shit. Fucking savage. So yeah, band is the OCs. I think they're just the just OCs now. Album is Smote Reverser. So the OCs are known for like just super fast lo-fi garage punk rock. And they actually change it up here. And I was kind of impressed. Paul, what'd you think?
Oh my god, it's a proggy 60s vibed outing, and I love it. I hope they keep going this direction.
I do too, because they are one of the most prolific bands in the genre. Like, come out with frequently at least an album a year, sometimes maybe two. I think they've already released another album this year, maybe that was last year. They did 2 last year, I think, and still continue to be interesting, which is very, very hard to do when you're playing garage punk, I think. But they've cultivated their own sound and have managed to make it even more interesting I think, by drawing out their instrumentals and making them jammier and more psychedelic and like 70s prog. Like, it's fucking rad.
Exactly. And what was interesting to me is because there's that focus, the embellishments a lot of time were vocal. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's just kind of weird little yips and howls. And sometimes it's harmonies, but it's just really good. Yeah,
it's really, really good shit. Billy, you did not like it, I assume?
I don't need to listen to a bunch of old dads.
Here we go.
Playing in the local townie bar, just doing jam band.
Jesus Christ.
Jam band
what did
garbage.
We do to you? What did we do to you?
Man has his opinion.
Hey, I take it back. Death Cab sucks. Anyway. Yeah, it's a great album. Don't listen to Billy. It's super good. Favorite tracks: Enrique El Cobrador, Overthrown, Abysmal Urn. Did you have any standout tracks, Paul?
Not really, but I mean that percussion heavy intro.
Mm-hmm.
Come on,
mm-hmm.
come on.
Who says no to that? Who says no to that? Yeah. You're gonna be crazy.
I'm gonna raise my hand and say no.
Yeah, fuck you. Related artists: Ty Seagal, whatever way you want to pronounce it. King Giz and King Tough. I thought it was very similar. All the Kings. If you're curious about the singles and albums we talked about today, there will be a playlist up on the website. That would be bliss.house, bliss.haus, containing all the singles and best tracks from this week's albums. Check out our Spotify profile, YouTube, all that good stuff, where all the good music lives and all the good music that we talked about. Definitely like us in all the places, leave good reviews, etc., etc. And one last time, visit bliss.house, bliss.haus for more content. Thanks, everybody.
Elegant, glossy slop rock. What are you nonsense?